There is a perception at the moment that corruption is getting worse, that the parasitism that you talk about is getting worse. And this is driven by factors that are much bigger than just President Jacob Zuma. Even if he isn't involved at all, you know, you can see what's happening around provincial leaders in some cases, or certainly provincial factions. You can see what's happening around state capture generally. One would think that unless there's something quite radical that happens, that all of these trends are going to get worse before they get better.
Look, our honest view as the SACP is that we must confront factionalism and corporate capture at the same time. All right? We would preferably like to see, even at this late stage, the ANC itself leading a more inclusive process of finding a successor to President Zuma. Some parties have done it in other parts of the world. They've got very clear mechanisms of dealing with that. We think the ANC hasn't found it, other than to say, well, we'll do it democratically, but in the process, factions. And some people position themselves as kingmakers. And it's tearing the organization apart, and it's affecting the alliance very negatively. We think that it's a time as the SACP for all of us in the alliance to say, can we not find a better way to manage this thing? Because we are right. What was the problem 10 years ago? It was around transition in leadership. What is one of the problems now? It's transition around leadership. And each time this battle is over, you have a COPE, you have an EFF. For how long will the ANC, or us as a movement, will we afford these kinds of a breakaway? How do we know that the next time around it won't be a breakaway, but it may be an implosion of the organization? So that is why we are saying, as the SACP, we all have to sober up. We have a lot to lose through this factionalism. And it's not very easy to deal with these things in the manner that I'm suggesting, I know, but they can be done. Of course, I can't compare the SACP to the ANC. We run no country. We are not a ruling party. But at our last two congresses, we never elected. We worked towards some kind of consensus. The ANC has reached consensus with the enemy before, during negotiations. Let's try and see if we can't do that for the sake of the future of this country and for the sake of our movement.
Just so I don't misunderstand you, you're saying the party should find an inclusive way to avoid a leadership election.
Yes. No.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it in an undemocratic way.
Not to avoid, but to manage it better, such that everybody feels that is part of the process.
Would you support, I mean, hypothetically speaking, if the two people who are seen as the front runners at the moment, I won't mention their names to make it easier for you, but would you support a joint ticket to, if not avoid, but certainly make that process better?
We can't prescribe. All what we are concerned about as the SACP is that this factionalism is damaging the organization. Let's find, without suppressing democracy, but let's find, you see, let me give you an example. It's an internal thing, that is the party. In 1991, the ANC conference in Durban, the first, if you don't count the consultative conference, which was at Nasrec, I think in 1990, but the first conference inside, where Madiba was elected president, there were main two types of contests there. There was the contest between the deputy president now, Cyril Ramaphosa, and then Alfred Nzo, who was Secretary General. ANC said, we're a democratic organization, that contest can continue. But there was a looming battle between former President Thabo Mbeki and the late Chris Hani. And Madiba had to call them in and said, we are a democratic organization, but we can't afford this contest between the two of you because it can damage the organization. Our focus now is to dislodge the apartheid regime, rather than tearing ourselves apart. And Madiba said, after consultations with other leaders, we are not going to contest the position of deputy president. Let's all work towards Walter Sisulu to be the president. What was that? A way of an organization saying to itself, here is the primary goal. let's try and unite ourselves. That's what we are trying to call for in the movement. Of course, we are not going to impose that on anyone. You know, we hope that people who can see that. Some are saying we are cowards because we fear that, well, we may be in a faction that may be defeated. To us, that's not cowardice. We're not even scared of that. You know, we are all capable of being in factions and fight it out. We care about the organization, we care about the movement, we care about our country, we care about the future of our young people and where South Africa goes to.
If you have to make a choice, would it be for Cyril Ramaphosa?
No, no, no. We have always said as the SACP, we don't decide, and we have stuck to that actually, that we don't decide leadership positions for any of our allied organizations because we would not like them to actually do that. All what we are saying is that we hope that the ANC finds a less damaging way of trying to.
You know, Twitter's immediately going to remind you that you seemed to campaign quite openly for President Jacob Zuma in 2007.
As the SACP? No, 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 no. What we were fighting against was abuse of state, because if we had allowed that to succeed, many of us would not be here today. I am absolutely sure. And the ANC would be in a very, very different space if it would still be in power, given some of the dangers we saw at the time. Yes, as the SACP, we said, when the ANC went to Polokwane, we are calling for a change of heart or a change of leadership. But we didn't say we want this one or that one.